Okay, this is Fran. Introduce yourself, Fran.
Hi, I'm Fran Silkwood, resident here at Brookdale.
You can tell a little bit about yourself.
Um, I was married 65 years, had one son. He's getting nearly as old as I am. Um, can't believe I have a child that old. um, and I worked in the uh, medical business, being a certified optician, and I really enjoyed the work. It was really good. Um, I went to work there in 1979, and two of the girls that I worked with to this day call me every week and come out here about once a month. And so I'm still hanging out with the group there.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your job. You said you were a what again?
A certified optician.
Okay, tell me exactly what that is and what you
Okay.
did.
We get the prescription. The patient comes in, gives us a prescription for their glasses. There are measurements we have to take. Um, and we have to decide on the kind of frame that will be suitable for their prescription because some prescriptions are a lot heavier than others, like in thickness. That is not such a problem these days, in that they have gotten into making thinner lens in the high prescriptions, and so that uh, if I was working today, that wouldn't be the same. So it's made it a lot easier. Also, during that time, the cataract glasses, I felt so sorry for those poor people that had cataract surgery. They came out with the most horrible looking glasses, but at least they could see. And so it was so nice when we could start making glasses that just looked like regular glasses. They looked, you know, I'm sure they felt a lot better. So, or maybe some of them didn't know how they how they looked. I don't know.
All right. So I'm interviewing you today for my Women and Gender Studies class. Um, this interview is going to be over kind of gender pay gap. Did you in the field you worked in, was it male dominated, woman dominated, or do you feel it was a good mix?
The mix. The other optician with me was a guy.
Was a guy? Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Do you know a lot about gender pay gap?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so gender pay gap is like it's really a thing today. I know it's been going around for a while. It's when men make more than women by a significant amount, just because they're mainly a male. So the research I'm doing is just in healthcare in general, and the reasons for in healthcare is because like women take off for maternity leave and things like that. So if they can get more males to work, that they're not taking off for certain things like kids, games, school events. In healthcare, men make 24% more than women from the research I've done. So I didn't know if you knew any of that.
Well, I've always known that guys make
More
more.
than
Yeah,
women. Yeah.
yeah. They pay me less and depend on my husband to make up the gap because he makes more. That's how that went. But they were particularly interested in me for the job because I only had one child and he was nearly grown. I mean, he was still at home and
hmm
everything, but it wasn't going to be an awful lot with a sick child or something
hmm
like that. And so I think that's why they took a better look at me.
Yeah, and then any of these questions, you don't have to agree with like gender pay gap or anything like that. You can just say how you feel on any of them. So, like, first question I prepared was, are you aware of any gender pay gap disparities in healthcare, either personally or within the job you work?
Well, I'm just aware of that being the fact in any job
Okay.
that a female has.
How do you feel the gender pay gap affects workplace, like a workplace moral or the dynamics of a workplace? Do you feel like it changes things? environment?
I think it's gone on to a point that that's just what a woman um, expects,
Mm-hmm.
all she knows.
Okay.
Now, in this day and time, it may be different. I don't know. But back then, you just,
I think I kind of agree. So I agree with that. Have you ever felt that you were paid less than a colleague that was a male that was doing the same exact work you were?
well, he was a guy. He had a family. I was just there. I was enjoying my job, and I liked working because I needed something to do. I like to be busy,
Okay.
and so my husband really preferred I not work. So it was sort of a struggle, not a negative struggle, but to convince him finally that I needed to work, that I wanted to work, and that it would be good for me. So finally he gave in, and it wasn't so bad for him.
Okay. Do you feel women in healthcare are less encouraged to advocate for higher pay or promotions compared to men?
That's a hard question. Um, like I say, in this day and time, I know they talk about that more
Hmm.
than we used to. We just accepted it and went on. But these days, I know that there's more of a, I'll call it a fight from women for that. They let it be known that they're aware of it.
And friend, you're a lot older than I am. So do you think gender pay gap has always been a thing?
Oh, I know that.
Why do you think it
Not
started to be a
not
thing?
necessarily now.
Hmm.
I think the women have caught up now. I mean, it's more in vogue for a woman to be doing a job a man can do these days
Hmm.
than it was back then. There were lady
Hmm.
jobs and there were men jobs. And nowadays, I mean, there might be an airline pilot flying you around as female. My granddaughter is a aviation major from OU here. That was her that was her plan, was to fly commercially. But she got sick and she can't travel. She needs to stay put with her doctors now. And but she has the ability to fly a plane. And I mean, that's just a perfect example right there. She was going to do what she really wanted to do.
Um, so today, people advocate for women to be paid more or the same as a man. So, like one research I did was a study. I don't know exactly what it was called, but it was two nurses and they came from the same college, same everything. There was nothing more that this man did that made him any more better than the woman, but he still got hired at a higher paying rate than her. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because the man knows that he's supporting a family.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's really not a good answer because in a lot of cases, the woman is the only one providing for the family if, you know, something has gone haywire in her life. Um, so that's really not a good answer, but uh, a man going to work expects to make, uh, he wants to make a good living and do the best he can for his family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the employer looked at a lady's job as just something that was an accessory to the man's income and or her spending money, maybe. So just however they wanted to look at it. But yes, I think back then, especially, it was that was just expected. That was just known, and that's the way it was. And I don't feel like it's been a long time since I've worked, but it doesn't feel like to me that it is the same now because I see and hear.
this is Makayla. What's going on? Yeah, I'll be right there. Give me just
Nothing sacred about this, is it? You don't appreciate what you're doing. You have to stop in the middle of it.
one second. No,
No. Okay.
no, I appreciate all your time. I'll ask you a
Oh
few more.
yes, I'm so busy and
I'll
I'm
ask
so
you a
tied up
few
here.
more questions.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I was talking about. The research I've done and why men make more. It's kind of what you were saying. Provide for their need to provide. They solely the only thing I found on research wise is just women take more responsibility roles like maternity leave, those kind of things. Do you think family responsibility or maternity or pay increases?
Um, I don't think it was really. I don't think it was really. Well, they had maternity leave back then, but it's just like it was stated to me after I got the job after the interview. It said that I appealed to them because there wouldn't be any of that. And I didn't have a small child to stay home with
Mm-hmm.
because it was sick. So I was actually told that back then.
Okay. Have you ever faced? Last question. Have you have you ever faced challenges balancing work, family life?
Mm. Is my family actually having the family ever?
Yeah.
No.
No, like has it? Have you ever faced any challenges balancing work with your family life? Has it ever affected any of your earnings?
No. And this was the reason that my husband didn't want me to work, especially after we had the baby. But even before we had the baby, uh, actually, I was in high school when we married, and I wasn't thinking about getting married, but I said, I can't marry you. I've got to go to school. Well, you can go to school. So he takes me. He was stationed at Tinker. He was an airman. He was a staff sergeant at Tinker. And so he brought me up to Dell City. I was in Shawnee. Brought me up to Dell City and put me in school. And so I finished school midterm. So I actually just went, just one semester. But I, in my mind, thought when I finished, something to do, um, I'd go to work. But when I mentioned, he said, "Why do you want to work?" I said, "Well, I need something to do." And I just assumed that, they give me something away from the house. I said, when you get up and the only thing you can think of you need to do is dust off the top of the refrigerator, that's pretty bad. And then you're finished for the day. And so um, he he just really felt better if I didn't do it, and so I gave in to it and everything. And there was no bitterness about it, or we never did have any trouble or anything about anything for that matter. But anyway, as time went on, I think Ed was about 9. Well, a friend that worked at this store, and I just happened to know and be well acquainted with the owners of this business. Um, she was working there part time. They were having a big sale, and she said they had just racked their brains trying to think of someone to come and help them out on the weekend. And so she thought about me, and so she called me. So I said, I listened to the proposition, and I said, well, I'll talk to Bill about that. Get back with you. And so I talked to him about it, and he said, well, you know, what about the boy? And I said, well, the boy, they said bring him with me if I wanted to. There's things down there for him to do. It was a children's wear store. And so I said, it's not like he's going to be neglected or anything. And it'll be a new experience for him, something to do. And so he said, well, since it's um, just for a weekend, so yeah, I went. And so I came back home. They had asked me, could I be on call just any time they were getting ready for something that they needed extra help. And I said, well, let me go home and talk to Bill. And so I came home and I told him, I said, they're wanting me to come back maybe sometime. I said, am I going to be, is this going to be something that we can deal with and live with? That I went back and worked a day every now and then. And he said, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. I knew once you got out and got working, you'd be wanting to go every day. And I said, no, I'm not wanting to go every day. It's just every night. So he just gave in. He gave up on me. So after that, I worked. And I did a lot of different things. But anyway, like I say, I ended up in the medical field, being an optician, and uh, I think the reason they did look at me was, as I spoke before, the fact that I didn't have small children, and really didn't have anything that would be a deterrent to me being at work. And also, they wanted someone that had never done that type of work because they were real particular and they wanted it done their way. And so they wanted me to be trained to do what I did and do it their way. So that was another plus for me. But anyway, it was good.
Last question. This will be my final question.
It's okay.
Now, for 2024, things aren't as traditional as they were, just not as traditional. Those women are working full time, right? As we would say traditional. Um, they deserve the same pay as their family.
Well, that's a difficult question. I think you stop and think about it. I think a lot of that, a lot of other things may be affected by that as well. In that, if you start thinking about the qualifications of each one, and if you had a female there that really didn't care about their work and they were only there for the buck, and they didn't care how they did the work or anything like that, that would be a deterrent. Um, if it was somebody that really fit the bill and they were right in there competing with the guy I did as well, and kept everything going. Um, well, yeah, I think in this day and time that women expect that. Um, I don't know that every one of them has the ambition to understand that, and that that makes them a better uh, employee that deserves a better pay scale. So it would just depend on the person and their attitude. To me, well, I'm privileged to do it, and I enjoyed it.
I will let you know how this turns out, and
Okay,
I'll tell you what my got on my grade.
okay. Well, I hope it's positive, and I hope you get a good grade.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, this Okay, this is Lainey Clampett. Um, we graduated together in 2023 from Hayworth High School. Um, tell your tell a little bit about yourself, Lainey.
I've worked as a CNA for 4 years through Broken Bow Health and Rehab. I'm going to school to be a physical therapist, and I got my CNA and my home health aide through Kamishi Tech in Idabel, Oklahoma.
Okay, first question. Why did you decide to work in healthcare?
For one, I thought at the time that they made good money, and I wanted to help people. And being a CNA in high school, you do make better money than most other high school kids.
Okay, what has your experience been like as a young woman in the healthcare fields?
I wish we were more valued by everybody.
Okay, what do you enjoy most about your job and what challenges do you face?
I enjoy my patients. Like all the old people that I get to see every day, they make it worth actually going to work. Some challenges are right now trying to get my degree in physical therapy.
Okay, so some of the next questions are like gender pay gap focus. Have you ever noticed or felt like male colleagues are treated differently when it comes to pay, promotions, or workload?
Yes, I feel like males do often get paid more in the healthcare industry because they're more valued and not seen as much. Like,
Like healthcare is more woman dominated?
yeah, like I feel like there's so much women that when there is a man, they do pay them more.
Okay, do you feel there are assumptions made about women in your field, such as reliability or commitment due to social expectations like caregiving roles?
Yes, given to the fact that women have children's and more of a social life than men do, and most men normally just work, and that is their social life. So, mindful.
It's okay. Just think,
What's the
like,
question?
do you feel there are assumptions made about women in your field, such as like commitment issues, like due to social expectations like caregiving?
Oh
So, like
yeah, I feel like
maternity leave and stuff like that. Do you think that affects like why
their pay.
women? Yeah,
Well, probably looking at it from like a business perspective, they're gonna pay men more because they don't have to take maternity leave or they don't take time off to go see their families and stuff. Like I feel like males just go to work. They're not as into their family and everything else.
but do you think that's a reason? Like, if a woman and a man went to college for the same thing and the women achieved just as much as the men, do you think that's a reason to pay her less?
No, that's ridiculous. Like I think that's pretty dumb.
Okay. Have you or someone you know ever experienced discrimination related to like maternity leave or other like family related responsibilities? You or like someone else you know.
My aunt is an RN, and when she went on maternity leave, when she had her fourth child, she had a C-section, so she was off longer than like normal,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't pay her for like the last 2 weeks she was off. I don't know if that's considered
No.
discrimination or not.
No, I feel like it would be because like what if a man was injured?
Yeah,
Would
like
they
if a
give him
man,
pay leave?
yeah, like if a man was injured and he, I'm sure they would pay him leave for his whole time he had to be gone. So I feel
Mhm.
like just because there was a complication and she had to be out longer, they should still pay her.
Agreed. All right. So, do you have anything else to add? Like gender pay gap, why you think women make less than men? Because from like the research I've done, that's like the solid reason why women make less than men. And it's actually 24% less, which is a lot.
Because of maternity leave.
Maternity leave and like social roles, like kids, children's taking off, or
Because
like
they
soccer
think
games.
women take more care and
Here,
are more
yes,
involved in their family's lives.
yes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Because I feel like men nowadays say that they're just as involved in their kids' lives as women are. So if they can say that, then we should all get paid the same.
True. Okay. These are like generational perspective questions. Do you think younger generations of healthcare workers like yourself are more aware and vocal about issues like gender pay gap?
I genuinely didn't know gender pay gap was a thing until I started talking to Makayla about it.
Okay. But do you think like younger generations are more aware and vocal than like older generations? Because like when I interviewed this lady at the assisted living that I work at, her name's Fran. It will be uploaded before this. She said like that she thought like gender pay gap was a thing because when they hire men, they thought like they think that men are taking care of their families, so they pay the men more.
I
Which
feel
is
like our age is more vocal about it because we are more like women nowadays are more vocal about they want to be paid more and they want the same things as men. Like we want it all to be equal. So I feel like nowadays people are more vocal about it than they were 30 years ago.
true. I agree with that. How do you think healthcare industry can evolve to eliminate these disparities? Like, how do you think we can fix the issues?
Well, I think every RN should be paid the same. Every LPN should be paid the same. Every CNA should be paid the same. I mean, I think you should be paid based off of your degree, not your degree and your experience, not your gender. Like if this woman has been an RN for 30 years and this man comes in and makes more than her and he's only been working for 10 years, like that's to me not a reason to pay him more because he's a man.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
I don't know. That's the only thing I've done with is like research. Is that's why.
like I feel like your degree and your experience should be what your pay is based off of.
If you've had a chance to speak to healthcare leaders about gender pay gap, what would you say? What you've said now, or
Yeah, I would probably just tell them like your degree and your experience is what you should be paid off of, not whether we're male or female.
okay, where do you see the future of gender equality in healthcare heading? And what changes would you like to see? So, first question, where do you see us heading? Like the
I
future of gender equality
I feel like because
in
it's been
healthcare?
getting better in everything else, like gender equality. I feel like it's been getting better in everything else. So I feel like it will get better in healthcare and like women will be treated the same as men. I can't tell you when because it takes forever for this stuff to work, but I feel like it'll happen eventually.
Okay, what changes, like, and what changes would you like to see? Like, it could be like people being more vocal about it. Because, like, I know, like, nurses went on strike. I know nurses have went on strike before. Like,
I
just
mean,
like
I'm
pay
sure
in
that would
general.
help. Like, yeah, like going on strike, and because I feel like healthcare across the board, everybody needs to be paid more. I don't feel like what we get paid as CNAs and LPNs in nursing homes is what we should be getting paid.
No, I totally agree on that.
I don't feel like RNs get paid enough in the hospitals because if you think about it, people at McDonald's get paid more than we do as CNAs.
Yeah, and we're dealing with like hepatitis and all kinds
We're
of
dealing with diseases. We're
diseases.
taking care of these people that can't survive if we're not there. I'm not saying McDonald's is a bad job by no means, but we're taking care of lives and we get paid
Like
$13
$13
an
an
hour.
hour. Yeah. What, like 20,000 a year if you work a lot, like
If you
24,000
don't miss a day of work,
if you never miss and if you're pulling like crazy overtime.
yeah, like 120 hours, and then half the time the facility don't want you going over 80.
So you can't really make anything. Yeah. Like your income's like $2,000 a month
Well, the way they have it set up where I work now, it's hard to reach over 88 hours.
on yours.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you work 4 on, 4 off, and you work 2 8s and 2 12s, and that's 36 hours a week,
Mm.
roughly, if you work like one day that you're off or just a little bit over.
So I think what she's saying overall is like healthcare people don't make enough money as it is.
So this whole gender age gap thing is
Pay gap. Gender pay gap.
gender pay gap, like where people, the men should not be paid more than we should, but everybody should be paid more, like in a whole.
General, yeah. Well, I don't really have any more questions to ask you. Do you have anything to add? Do you think
How do you feel about this?
gender pay gap? Okay, I'll say the assisted living I work at. It's when I first started. It's mainly males. I think there's one other.
That work there?
Yeah, mainly males that work there, which is kind of weird.
I was gonna say because where we're from, it's mainly women.
Yeah,
like
it's
we
mainly
worked
males.
with 2 males throughout high school.
3. So she's been there 4. I've been there almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're going on 4.
Mm-hmm.
But no, where I work in assisted living, it's just males, really. And I will
You
say
don't see that down here though.
they do make more than I do. I make $16.50. They're probably making like $19.50, and I have more experience. This was one of their first jobs ever as a CNA.
See, that's why I feel like the whole experience and like your degree, which I mean, CNA isn't a degree; it's a license. But you've also been doing it for going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
Because you got yours as a senior in high school, and I got mine as a junior. So I feel like our experience in it, we should automatically get paid more by having 3-4 years of experience.
I think when they just look like overall, when I don't know, I think the world just looks at men more handy, more capable too. You know what I mean? More handy, more
Yeah.
capable.
Because I mean, honestly, like let's be honest, when we're like transferring people and like picking people up, it's a lot easier for them to do.
Too than a woman. It would take 2 of us.
Yeah.
But I still think if women work just as hard as a men for something, if not harder, then they should be paid for what they work for.
Yeah, I genuinely do feel like because we went to school for the same thing.
It took us a year to
And
get the CNA certification.
It took us my junior and your senior year of high school to get it, and we've been doing it since then. So I feel like our experience should still get paid more.
And I also do think people are looking at things more traditional still.
I feel like it depends on like
Where
what
you're
kind of company you go for though, because if you go, because there's a company in Idabel that does home health, and it's ran by a really young lady, like she's in like maybe her like mid-20s, and she does pay her women pretty good for home health. But I feel like when you go and you work for a company that is like older people
more
that are running it,
I shouldn't say more traditional, 'cause traditional is really not a word anymore.
Yeah. Like they're more old school. Like
I know what you're talking about
when
though.
you go work like at Broken Bow, like when we had our old DOM, she was really old school about a lot of things. I wish people weren't as old school because it's 2024. Almost 2025.
I'm going to a very what's a good word for OU? Because it's way different from here. The perspectives of up there are way different. So we're from a small town in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and
everybody down here is very yeehaw.
Okay, that's not the same thing though, but it's very
It's very men are.
There's no jobs for women here. First of all, let's start. Good paying jobs. Like I will never be able to come back and have a great paying jobs. Like the hospitals in the city compared to the hospitals here.
I've looked at where I'm getting my PTA, and if I come back and I work at the hospital in Idabel, Oklahoma, they will only pay me $25 an hour, and I can go up to Norman and everywhere where you're at, and I can get paid at least 30.
Yeah.
As a physical therapy assistant.
It's just very male dominated. I'm trying to think of good words. I don't know. I will say like this county is very Republican, and OU is a Democrat. I'm pretty sure it's a Democratic school.
It's more Democrat than it is
Republican. Maybe not. I don't know. I want to say it's 50-50. I'm not great into the school, but from what I've learned, it's more open.
Everybody's more accepting of
there. You go. This isn't like a very
no. This is
LGBT.
Like it's not very comfortable to be LGBTQ down here,
or even just a woman. Like this is more. get married at 19, have a stay-at-home wife
It's
here.
very old school.
It is very old school. So she probably doesn't know too much about gender pay gap,
No,
but it's a real thing. And
I know that it is. I knew that it was in welding because that's what my dad does, and
men make more than women.
men make more than women in welding, but they want more women. Like they want more women to start welding. And my dad was trying to explain it to me. Well, if they want more women to start welding, they're gonna have to pay them the same as they pay us.
Oh, okay. Well, gender pay gap is a big thing, but like it's not very known in healthcare, but it is like a thing in healthcare. I chose to do healthcare because it was like my major, nursing.
Yeah.
But those
I feel like it is it's a big thing. Gender pay gap is a big thing because I feel like we should all get paid the same. Like I don't feel like just because you're a man and I'm a woman that I should get paid less than you, or even the other way around. If I was getting paid more than you, if I was a man, I would be upset that this woman was getting paid more than me.
Okay, I'll ask you one more question before we're done. Name 3 things you think people should do to solve this issue. Like 3 actual things, like physical things.
They,
Like
and this one's not like physical, but I mean,
like
they should speak. Like it needs to be verbalized out loud
okay.
that this is like a thing that needs to be changed. I guess something physical that they could do. Like I don't want to get too physical where you like get in trouble for doing
No,
it.
but like
But like strikes and stuff are things that people do across the nation.
okay.
Like, don't they still do that?
Strikes? Yeah, they
Yeah.
still do strikes.
Mm.
Well, there's like a teacher strike like what 4 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah, because they weren't getting paid
Paid
enough in
them.
Oklahoma.
See, think if this is like if healthcare is like a women dominated thing, if all the women went on strike and they just left the males, they would need the women
Yeah,
to
because
come back and work.
there's only 3 male CNAs where I work.
They would need the women. So I think that what is it called when I can't think of it right now. When they like go like hold signs, you know what I'm talking about?
Protest.
Yes, protesting.
Yeah, like protest. Not
So
so much as a strike, but like protest.
protesting, and like what would be a third?
Like displaying it, like
Making it
on like social media and
yeah,
like
social
even
media.
on like papers. Like you know how people display stuff like around campus.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, like if they started displaying it a lot more.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, that's not technically physical, but I feel
Mm-mm.
like if it was displayed and like vocalized,
More.
things would get changed.
I think people just accept it now. Like everyone's just a lot of women just accept it and move on. They feel like they can't.
Yeah, see, I don't want to do that. I
They
want to be
feel like
paid
they
the
can't.
same.
They can't.
I feel
Nothing's
like
gonna
as a woman,
change.
you can change a
But
lot of things. I just feel like you have to have the right people that are going to help you
agreed. Well, thank you for doing this for me, taking the time before she went to deer camp
try and
to
change.
meet me because we actually live 45 minutes away from each other. So that's why this filmed in a car.
But it was
So
great.
we were
loved
going to
it.
film it at work the other day, but we had stayed there.
Yeah, we don't want to be in the conference room filming an interview
Yeah.
when State's at the nursing home.
So thank you for filming this,
You're very welcome.
and
Have fun
yeah,
at OU, Boomer Sooner.
yeah, we just lost actually. Did you see that game?
No.
LSU to OU.
Oh my god.
It was 60 something.
Y'all beat Bama though.
We did beat Bama. That was
Oh,
a
you
great
beat
game.
Bama. That was great. I seen that.
That was amazing.
I seen that.
All right. Well, we're both eligible. Boomer Sooner.
Yep, Boomer Sooner.